Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here, and today's video is going to be my What Do You Do review for Void Bastards. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, the purpose of the video is to give you an extended look and a full look at a gameplay loop and talk about what you actually do in the game. Is something that often gets overlooked in reviews. They're talking about all sorts of other different things, the technical performance, the music, the voice acting, whatever it be. That is not the purpose of these videos. This is just to show you a full and entire gameplay loop so you can see exactly what it is you're going to be doing when you play the game. So let's just jump right into it for Void Bastards. Now, this is a game that actually has a pretty simple gameplay loop and is very clearly defined, even though this is a game that actually mashes up several different genres overall. It's actually it's a kind of a hybrid between a survival game, a strategy game, a first-person shooter. It's all procedurally generated, which normally I don't think is a very good thing, but in this case I'm finding it to be very addictive, specifically because of the gameplay loop. The gunplay and everything is pretty good, it's totally fine, but the gameplay loop here specifically is what I'm enjoying. Now, what you have here is there's two separate phases. You're going to have a phase where you're on the ship plotting out your next course, and then you're going to have the first person shooter element when you're actually on board the ship, going and collecting resources, fighting enemies, and basically looking for different items you need to progress the story. You're always going to have a main quest, and that main quest will consist of you having to go and collect multiple resources specific to the main quest objective, and then once you craft that, you will go into the next phase of the story. The other thing you're going to be doing, which is more of the meta game, is you're going to be always looking for different crafting resources and different materials to build upgrades for your character, because this game is a roguelike, so once your character dies, he's dead. The thing is, though, you get to keep any items that you craft here at the workbench, and as you can see, there's quite a few options here on the screen. I still haven't locked quite all of them, but most of them I have unlocked, and several of these have several different tiers of upgrades to build on top of them, so you can keep going for quite a while. The thing with this game is you can make this go as fast or as quick as possible, or you can really slow it down and grind for resources. You can tackle it any way you want, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick which ships you want to jump to. You're going to burn fuel and food resources every time you make a jump, but you can pick some of those up in space. There you see right there, I picked up some fuel out in space, and you can pick some up on ships. A lot of the times they'll have either food or fuel or both on a ship, and you can pillage that and get enough to keep going to the next objective. You don't need to stop at every ship, and you see on the right hand side of the screen, it will show you everything you need to know about the ship. It'll tell you what resources are available, which particular salvage crafting items are available, and which enemy types are going to be on the ship, and which hazards or benefits will be on the ship. It doesn't matter what you have. Sometimes it'll be a full list of negatives, sometimes it'll be full list of positive benefits on a particular ship. And what you're going to want to do is pick and choose your battles. You're not going to want to necessarily jump onto the hardest ships, even if it has the resources you want. If it looks like an overwhelming ship, if you see a lot of negative traits listed on the right hand side and it's got some tough enemies, a lot of tough enemies, you'll see it even tells you if there's going to be a lot or just a few enemies there on the side of the screen. Now, the character you have is going to be kind of important because they'll also have their own buffs or negative traits. My character right now, I'm actually pretty lucky. I have 3 very solid perks on this character, and I've had him for quite a while. I haven't died in quite a bit. You can see I'm on day 254. I'd say over half of that has been just with this one character here. He hasn't died in a while. But you got to be careful. You don't want to lose the characters that have the good positive traits. This one in particular has a great trait that allows me to see all the security devices on the ship as soon as I load in. So that's a very powerful perk, so I can just go and destroy those right away, so they're not going to ruin my run a lot of the times. Now, important to note, these are the weapons that you will craft throughout your journey, and you will collect ammo throughout each cycle of your roguelike life. And you want to pick the weapons that are going to be most beneficial when you go out for each particular enemy that you're going to be encountering. You're always going to have some sort of security devices unless there's sort of a positive buff on the ship that disables them, but that's not usually going to be the case. Most of the time they're going to be active, and those can be very dangerous. So you always want to plan for some way to take out the security devices, but you're also going to want to make sure you have proper weaponry that can easily take care of the enemies you're going to see on the ship. Now, here I have to deal with a couple enemies, one called the Patient. Those can be really annoying to hit with smaller weaponry, so I'm just going to take a rocket launcher which can vaporize them in one hit. Then you see these smaller tourist enemies on the side. those are actually not really much of a threat at all unless they kind of sneak up and gang up on you. They will explode if they get within proximity, but they move very slow. They're not very aggressive, so this is not really a totally difficult ship. But as you'll see, I don't really pay too close of attention. I almost die as we go through this. But so now we're going to hop right onto the ship. I have selected my proper target. You see it gives you the layout of the ship right when you go on. So this is why it's kind of like a strategy game. It gives you plenty of time to plan what you want to do. You can pull up this mini map at any time, unless of course there is negative traits that will remove the mini map on a particular ship, but you will always have access to this for the most part, and you can see the little security cameras dotted all around the map, so I know right where they are because I have that particular perk on this character. So let's just jump right into the action. Here we go. So right away you'll notice up in the top right hand corner of the screen, you'll see there's an O2 meter ticking down. That's going to tick down the entire time. That's how much oxygen you have on the ship. Now, sometimes based on the size of the ship, that meter will be a little bit longer, and there's usually on the ship a way for you to refill that meter entirely if you go into the room and just refill at the oxygen meter. There should be one on every ship. I think there's a couple of ship layouts that might not have it, but most of them do. So you'll see right away, some of these enemies are aggressive as soon as they see you. Some of them don't really come after you too much. And it really all depends on what enemy types are on the ship, depending on how difficult your journey is going to be. Now, like I said, you're always going to want to look out for the security meter. So what I'm going to do, I'm constantly going to be checking my mini map because I have that perk available where I can see where the security devices are. I want to make sure that I don't secretly rush in and get one of these sentry bots chasing after you, because those can be a real annoyance on the ship. So you always want to take out the cameras. And there's always going to be some sort of gun turrets or bomb turrets on the ship as well. You can either kind of ignore them, try to avoid them. Maybe you don't get seen. You can maybe avoid the room that they're in if there's nothing in there that you really want to go after. Or you can take them out if you want. It's really up to how you want to go about and attack them. As you're going to see in this video, I have a kind of unique weapon where it reflects the bombs back at the turrets that are shooting it at me. So that's how I will choose to take them out, because it's actually pretty simple. You just stand there with the shield up and you won't take any damage. But regardless, so what you're going to see here, I'm going around, you basically pick up anything you can as quickly as you can. This is a game about resource gathering. It's really just, that's the core of it. It may not really seem like it if you're just watching a video of someone playing or just a regular video review. You might not come across that this is at its core a survival crafting game. You're always trying to upgrade your character, so if you do end up dying, which early on, it's probably going to happen quite a bit until you learn some of the systems and learn which enemies are going to give you the most trouble, which ones you feel comfortable going up against, and which ones you just want to avoid entirely. Until you get the rhythm of the game down, you're probably going to die. Not a ton, but a few times. The game isn't necessarily hard, but it's a game where if you're not paying attention, you can certainly die quite easily. As you'll see once again in this video, like I mentioned, I almost die on the ship out of the blue, but because I just wasn't paying full attention to what was going on. But what you're going to be doing is just going around, gathering as much resources as you can. These particular key items that you're on board each ship looking for, you always want to make sure you get away with those. Some ships will have a helm, not all of them do. If you find the helm, you can go and download a map of the ship, which will give you the exact location of all the different items that are on board the ship and will signify exactly where the key item is. You can also, on most ships, pay a few merits, which is the currency that you earn in the game. You can pay a few merits and it will show you where all the enemies are on the ship and any enemy spawn locations if they are also on board the ship, which can be pretty handy if you are in a dangerous ship where there's a lot of tough enemies. That if there's a key item that you really want to go after there, and there's the enemies you know are going to be overwhelming on the ship, if you know there's going to be a lot of them, it might be worth your time to invest the extra merits just to go and download, so you know exactly what you're walking into as you go to each room. Because sometimes you can walk into a room and there can be most of the enemies on the ship in that one room. It can be completely random. There's these things called rifts on the ship which can spawn enemies, and if you have a couple of those in one room, you can open the door and they'll just be loaded with enemies that can take you out pretty quickly, once again if you're not paying attention. And if any of the security systems are also located in the room, there you saw a rift right there on the floor. So this ship here has the helm. You see I just downloaded what I need, but up in the top corner you see that yellow item I just picked up. That is the key item I was looking for on the ship, so now I'm free to get off. You can check the mini map at this point, see if there's anything else you want to go over. There, you see there's one more little item down there in the corner, and there's some fuel up in the top left-hand corner of the map. So I'm going to go and try to go after that. This is also this is a medical ship. So here I can go and refill my health at that meter. Most ships don't have that, but these medical ships do have that. Something else to keep in mind is the particular ship class that you choose will determine what type of loot drops. Most of the scrap and stuff that you pick up, the junk items that you pick up for crafting on this ship, will be stuff like food and biof, which is one of the crafting materials. Other ships will have different stuff. Some of the weapon ships will have a lot of ammo and bullets on them. Every ship class will have its own specific thing, so that it all ties into picking which ship you want to go on. This one had the key item that I was looking for, the one that I needed to continue my main story, and it also had a crafting piece that I need to craft a future item down the road. Now you see I've pretty much picked up everything else I need on the ship. There's one more item. There's some fuel up in the top corner, so I'm going to turn around real quick and go and grab that, because it's always good to grab as much fuel and food as you need, because you never know what course you're going to want to take in the star chart as you go. As you can see up in the top corner, I'm not going to bother to waste the ammo to destroy that last little camera. It's going to send the security bot after me. It's going to put me in lockdown right here, but you can just unlock the door quickly, and I'm just going to run to the airlock. I'm not even going to see this sec bot, so that's totally fine. I'm going to get off the ship. This is all you got to do. When you want to leave, run to the airlock. You can do this at any time. If you find yourself in danger and you think you're going to die, and you just want to get off the ship with the resources you had and keep your character alive, you can just run back to the airlock at any time and leave. There's nothing stopping you. Just run right in there. There you see, I got some salvage items, got 2 fuel, 2 food. That gives me a couple more jumps to add to my total. Not a lot of junk material for crafting. Sometimes you'll get a lot more than that depending on which ship you go on, but that's not really the purpose of that particular ship boarding. So now you're going to go back into your main menu, go to my workbench. Do I have anything I can craft? No, nothing popping up right away, but I will say the crafting comes pretty quickly. You don't really have to take too much time to find the stuff you need. You get your upgrades pretty quick. I haven't played this game for probably more than 10 hours, and as you see, I have most of the stuff crafted, and a lot of the stuff is already upgraded. Again, you can take this as slow or as fast as you want. You could not even build half the stuff if you wanted. You can just try to rush through, grab the key items you need, and get off the ships if you wanted. You can do like a kamikaze style. It doesn't really matter how you want to tackle it. You can go slow and deliberate and just craft everything you need. If you didn't even want to go on the ships that have the key items you want, you can end up just crafting them if you take the time and go slowly. You can stay in the easier depths without having to really risk too much, or you can just jump right into the deep end and go into the lower depths as quickly as possible to try to get the items you want. But anyway, that is basically the gameplay loop for the game. There you saw a whole cycle of the game. I hope you get an idea of what this game exactly is. I hope I explained it fully to you. And that's going to be it for me, Coach Toolshed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Please subscribe if you want to stay in tune with the channel headed forward. And as always, keep it turned to 11.